Welcome back to another video. If this is your first time here, my name is Jesse and this is my dog Freya. Usually you'll find us traveling the countryside, but this video is going to be a bit different. In our last one, we had a pretty big mechanical failure that we need to get fixed before we can hit the road again. This is what the back of the turbo is looking like. And you see we're missing a couple bits of the blades in there. And well, the front's been rubbing on the edge there as well. Alright, so I have sent the turbo off to go get looked at, so hopefully I'll hear back from G-Turbo by the end of the week of what they reckon went wrong or if they're going to warrant it, and I'm probably going to get them to rebuild it. I was looking at swapping to a UFI, but UFI has different intake size and it moves the turbo forward a little bit and whatnot, so there's going to be more work and more fiddling for me to do, whereas if I can either get it rebuilt or replace it with the newer G-Turbo, then hopefully I can just bolt it straight back on and not have to deal with a heap of other crap. Now, I have the guard off. What a pain. But anyway, it's off and it actually got fixed up pretty easy. I don't really care too much about dents or scratches, whatnot. It's full drop. I don't care too much. But it at least needs to look all right. So I just gave it a couple hits with a hammer and it's looking pretty good. It's got some, like there's a bit of a dent there. I could really probably get it out, but I touched it for all of 2 minutes and I would be happy to put that back on. It took me 2 minutes to bang out. It took me 2 hours to get off the car, but you know, whatever. So, cool. Don't need to buy a new guard. That's a win. We're going to start bolting the guard back on. This video is going to be kind of all over the place because I'm not necessarily doing this all on one day, nor is a lot of it going to be in order. I'm kind of just doing things as I go. I'm going to be waiting a while for this turbo situation anyway, so I'm kind of just slowly working my way along. But let's get this guard back on. I'm pretty happy with it, to be honest. So got the guard on. Well, I've got 3 bolts in. Haven't really worried about the rest yet. It's not too bad. Like, from way back here, you're not going to care. I left a bolt down here out just because I couldn't get it to line up. And up here doesn't line up too well. In here is not the best. But hey, it's good enough. So I need to get some rivets. And I'm going to go along and just rivet this inside bit all back together. I also need to order new gaskets. So I'm going to go ahead and just quickly order some new gaskets. We'll get one of them as well. So we have 2 exhaust gaskets, or 2 exhaust manifold gaskets, 1 turbo to manifold gasket, and 1 rocker cover gasket. Well, another thing to add to the list. So I just went to fit one of the new flares. This is the old one. But, of course, they can't keep their design the same. Of course, they got to change it. So the shape was slightly different. There were a lot more holes in it. And for me to follow this line here meant this back line cut down here, and you could still see this hole here and this whole line. So That's going to be a lot of work. I'm going to have to heat and trim and mold those flares to fit. I'm just going to take them back. I can't be bothered dealing with that. I'm going to take them back and I'm going to try and repair this one to make it work, because it was still pretty solid even though it was missing these two mounting bolts. It was still pretty solid, and I can sit this one on here just like that, and it follows the guard nicely. So let's try and keep this one. I just got to try and repair it somehow. So I do have fiberglass here that I was going to use to patch these kind of gaps and the hole that was there. But what I decided to do instead was just cut up some bits of plastic. So this was like a little triangle piece that was kind of hanging off there, and I decided to just break that off and use that. So now I'm gonna slot that in there, bit of silicone, just like I've done here and also there, and then that'll do. I felt like it was going to be way too much work to do the fiberglass, because then I'm going to need to sand it, paint it, blah 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 blah. So siliconing some plastic back in there will make it look the part, and I won't have to do a lot of work to make it happen. I've got to get some connections to put all my wires back in the snorkel. I need some plugs, because stuff like this, as you can see, this was just soldered before. But then if I ever need to take this off again, I'm just gonna have to keep cutting and soldering it. So I'm gonna get a connection for that, and stuff like the Starlink on the roof. Now, there is a plug for the Starlink, but it's way up there underneath the solar panel, so I never really thought about that. So I'm gonna put another plug here, that way I can quickly disconnect it here. And same with my lights when camping. I've got a plug here, but it also gets looped. So then I've got to go unplug every single light all the way around, cut all the cable ties and feed it all back. That's just a pain. So I'm going to chuck another plug right there. That way everything will disconnect right here and I can pull the snorkel off. So I've had the new rocker cover seal show up. So I've got that sitting on there ready to go. And at the moment I am currently cleaning just any gunk off here. Just going around cleaning where it's going to sit. I did have another issue that I hopefully have fixed. So in here, the number 4 injector, I don't know, it's kind of been leaking and kind of making a mess down the side. Turned out this little spring here is kind of just on a bit of rubber, and that rubber was folded underneath itself and the spring wasn't actually sealing it properly. So hopefully that's fixed that problem and it won't be leaking down the side of my engine anymore. We'll see. So since I've had a bit of free time while I'm waiting for an answer for this turbo, I decided to go through and do a few other little jobs just to slightly improve the setup, maybe help out a little bit, just little things. One of those little things is a switch for my water pump. Now, currently my water pump is switched through the Red Vision. It's not powered at the moment, so I can't really show you. On here is how I turn on my water pump. So I got to come around here, turn it on through there, then come back and use my water, right? And I don't leave it running just because extra stress and it leaks like the tiniest bit and it just constantly charges itself. And so that's been kind of annoying, going around and around and around just to turn water on and off. So now I've installed a switch here, so that'll be water on and water off. And then that wires into the TVMS Red Vision thing, so I can still turn it off and on with that, as well as the switch in there. So that's just like a little quality of life thing that I thought I'd do, make it a little bit easier to deal with. So another thing I've decided to try and work on is cooling for the charger. So this is my 12 volt in here, got the inverter, the battery, charger. Now the charger seems to like thermal throttle itself after about 20 minutes to half an hour. Then I'm only getting about half charge, and that's no good. I want to be able to charge a bit quicker than that, or at least for longer. So we have a vent down here that's been there since I installed it. There's a vent there, and I've had this one here as well. Obviously that's not enough because this lid does get closed like that. So to allow a bit more airflow, I've got a computer fan here. So I'm going to put another vent over that, and I'll have this computer fan extracting air from in here to hopefully allow to keep that charger a bit cooler. So I don't know where I'm going to hook this up yet. I'm thinking to ignition, so anytime the car's on, that fan's on. It is a bit noisy, but I'll just have to deal with that. So for a little test, just got a Milwaukee battery here. And then obviously, I'll have a vent over there like that. And it is pulling through a fair bit of air. I can feel on this vent down here, I can feel air getting pulled through that vent. So hopefully with that fan running, anytime that's charging, maybe I'll get a little bit more charge out of it. So, I have myself here a new turbo. So this is the replacement that G-Turbo sent out. I overnight freighted my turbo to them Wednesday last week. They assessed it. They couldn't tell me what went wrong with it or why something went wrong with it. Obviously, something happened to the rear prop. But yeah, they couldn't say why. So they did replace this one at their cost. This cost me nothing. So I can't really fault them for that. At least they were good enough to replace the turbo. This is their new design. This is no longer a red wheel. This is the updated version of the red wheel, And from what I can tell, the only parts that are left from my old turbo and have been put on this is the wastegate. Everything else looks brand new, from what I can see anyway. I don't know about the internals, but obviously the props needed to be changed. The front housing needed to be changed because the turbine had started wearing the housing, and the rear housing looks brand new as well. 10 days after sending the old one away, we got a new one back, and hopefully we get it fitted tonight and do some testing tomorrow, I guess. No, Freya. All right, turbo's on, manifold, dump, everything's tightened up. I have left the oil feed line off, according to Google. I'll leave it off, crank the car over, and that primes the oil feed line. I did put a little bit of oil down the inlet for the turbo before I put it on. So maybe it's already primed, but I'm going to do what it says anyway. Crank the car over to get the oil up into that line, then I'll put it on and we'll try and start it, I guess. So there's definitely oil coming out of that turbo feed line now. So I guess I'll put it on and do it up. Then we should be able to start it. All right, so it's running again. It's still not completely back together. I've got to do up the intercooler hose clamps. I've got to put that other snorkel back on, run all my cable back through there, put the grill back in and stuff, fit the airbox back up. But for the most part, she's there. It starts, sounds healthy. So I'm just going to end it there for the night, go chill out. Tomorrow morning, I'll finish all this up, take it for a test drive, see how it goes. So yesterday I finished putting the turbo and all the intercooler pipe and stuff on the car, and as you can see, we're driving. So far, it's going alright. I don't really remember how much I filmed of that, to be honest, and it probably wasn't enough. But today, we're heading out to regional Victoria. We're going to go do a little overnighter, put a few hundred Ks onto the new turbo, make sure it's all going well, nothing's leaking, anything like that. I'm going to head to a little lake, very small, like, you know, dam, reservoir, lake sort of spot. About an hour and a half. Yeah, about an hour and a half from Melbourne. So I arrived at where I told my map to take me. It is not where I wanted to be. I don't know what happened, but this isn't the right spot. I don't think you can camp here. I mean, I came to a wiki camp spot, so wiki camp says you can camp here. I'm not gonna. Sadly, this means I gotta go an hour kind of back in the other direction. They were about both the same distance from home, but to go from here to the place that I actually want to be at is another 50 minutes away. Well, as you can see there's actually quite a few people staying there. That was literally just around the corner from where I just stopped. So there's quite a few people at that spot. So I've had to change plans yet again. I really didn't want to drive 50 minutes pretty much back in the direction that I came to go to the dam I originally planned to go to. So I had another look and there was a spot about 15 minutes away from where I was just at before. This is Major Creek Reserve. It's just a little runoff stream from the Goulburn River. Now, even though the main idea of this little overnighter was to test out the car, I also have another little thing that I want to test out. I went and bought something. It's pretty big, as you can see here, and I'm not sure if I want to keep it and bring it with me. This is it here. So obviously it takes up quite a bit of room in the car, which is the downside. But it also could provide quite a bit of fun. This is an inflatable kayak. So I got this to try and get to those harder to reach spots for fishing. And well, could be a bit of fun just to float up a river or something during the day. I don't know why the camera stopped recording. It just decided to stop. So I've pumped this all up now. Alright. I don't know how much I want to trust this. Alright. We're in. I did get a life jacket just because I don't really trust the cheapest kayak you can buy. Catching much?
I might be able to if I could get my lure back if I couldn't.
You've lost it? Whereabouts is it? Just on the surface there? Ooh.
There with that one.
Perfect.
Legend.
No worries.
Thank you so much for that.
We can make it under this. It's all the trees that I'm worried about. Alright, so that was probably about an hour of fishing. No luck. But our sun's pretty warm, so I really don't want to stay in it. Maybe we'll go again in the morning. So I've decided to come out for another paddle. Our sun's starting to go down. Temps dropped off. Alright, so one thing I thought I'd do tonight is I can quickly break down just how much I've spent over the first month of travelling full time. And the numbers aren't good, but I have had a lot of issues, so hopefully we're done with the issues and we can have a smooth run for the rest of the year. So to start with, fuel. Now, I didn't keep a great track on fuel usage, so I can't actually say how many litres I've used or how many Ks I've done. I will try and track that a lot better going forward and keep an eye on the Ks so we can work that out. But as for cost, so far I've spent $1,126 on diesel. Next up, we've got our big hit to the pocket, tow truck. Now, a tow truck alone was $1,400, which is pretty cheap. It was middle of the night. It was 3 hours away from where the tow truck was stationed, so that is cheap for what it was, let's be honest. Drone repair, $100. Miscellaneous parts. Now, this will just be random stuff like the wheel studs that I broke, and I've topped up some power steering fluid, just random bits and pieces like that. That's at $257. Insurance is what it is. And I've even put stuff down to car wash here because I've had to wash the car a couple times. I've even got that on there. So in total, with all of those things there, we're at $2,500. That's just on those costs. That's not including the fuel. For our kind of daily living sort of stuff, groceries, alcohol, food, internet, recreation. So I had to buy a fishing license. I also bought a fishing rod because my old one broke, and the kayak. Bought the kayak and the life jacket, so that's on here as well. And I also have subscriptions, which for me is just YouTube Premium. That totals to $1,390. I also have a list here for Freya. Food/toys and insurance is all I've got on there at the moment. Now, some of her food does go into my groceries as well, because if there's no pet shop around, like there wasn't quite a few times in Tasmania, then I'll just get her what I can at the supermarket while I'm there. So that kind of eats into my grocery tally as well. But so far, $458 on Freya. That's going back since January though, so that one's not so bad. In total, first 4 weeks, this is pretty much just Tasmania, it was $5,478. So that is a very hefty first month. I hope that it's not going to be like that for the rest, otherwise we won't be out here very long. But there are a few unfortunate scenarios. The turbo, the drone, and well, we did splurge on the kayak, so yeah, I just thought that would be a good quick little breakdown of what you may expect if you were to start doing this. I don't plan on spending that much every month. That was a bit of a shock to me, to be honest. But what can you do? I know I have a pretty thirsty car, so fuel is definitely going to be the biggest bill for me. Well, the bugs are coming out, and I'm honestly pretty tired, so me and Freya are going to go to bed, and I'll see you guys in the morning. So now we're doing the true test of whether we're going to keep this kayak. We know it floats, those are right at that. But if I can't pack it up pretty much as small as what it came brand new, then it's not really going to be any good. Stay off. Like that. Maybe roll it like this. And that's that. That packed up into that bag pretty easy. Not as hard as I thought it would be. Nice. All right, well, so far, pretty successful first little test. Nothing seemed to have gone wrong just yet, fingers crossed. So that'll do it for this one. I'm gonna get back home and probably just gut this whole thing, get it all cleaned out, start fresh, and hopefully in the next video, we'll be back on the road full time for our lap. I know this was a bit of a boring video with not much really going on. I was kind of just trying to make something out of nothing. Even this overnighter was a last minute decision to just pack up and go out to try and add something maybe worth watching to the video and test a few things. So if you stuck around, don't forget to like the video, maybe a cheeky little subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next one.